Hey, welcome to Creatacast for the year 2020. The new season of Creatacast is going to contain more prompts, more information for writers who are looking to publish. I'm also going to do quite a bit of brain picking from authors who have gone the conventional route, gotten queried for an agent, got an agent, and had their manuscript go on to full publication. I'm also going to talk to some successful indie authors who've published their work through independent publisher and have been successful. So that's on the docket for 2020. I'm not really going to overload the senses. I am going to do a new prompt every day. And the prompt for today is the bear behind the wall. So the bear behind the wall prompt, you could do it poetry, you could do it nonfiction, you could write it in a play, however you want to do. Essentially, the prompt is there is a bear trying to get through the door, and you are behind the door, you or your character are behind the door, and you have to either prepare yourself for the eventuality that the bear is going to get through, or the bear doesn't get through the door, consequently, before you are either rescued or you find a way out. Either way, it's a good prompt. It allows you to create a timetable. There's some elements of time that are part of this prompt. There's real danger involved with the prompt. A hungry bear is definitely something. Now, it doesn't have to be the conventional bear. It could be quite a few different things, and I'm eager to see how you do. Let me know how you took the prompt. You can always send me your work at dwelch9627@gmail.com. I can take a look at your work for Creatacast, and if I like what you've written, keep it, 1 to 10 pages. As long as it's within 10 pages of work, I'll read it on air. I'll read it on YouTube, and I'll get your work out there in your name. So, little bio. Please put it in Word, and also 12-point font, and either Arial or Times New Roman. Outside of that, it's all yours. Take the prompt and run with it. I'm eager to see what you do. Still working on getting my book, Our Streaming Lives Out There, and 22, which is a veterans book that I'm working on for poetry. I still have my creative works of fiction that I'm working on. I've had a lot of delays. When it comes to being a writer and a stay-at-home dad, the two don't mix very well, at least for me. Now, there are writers that have children that write pretty well, that still knock out 3,000-4,000 words a day. So however you accomplish that, fantastic, great for you. I know authors that are putting down 10,000, 20,000 words a day. And they have all the distractions in the world to keep them from writing. But I know my limitations, and that happens to be toddlers. The toddlers are in Texas for vacation. It is coming up on race season. My aunt and uncle are big on races, and they're going to go for race season. So I'm eager to see what I can accomplish while they're not here. And part of those accomplishments is continuing with Creatacast, making sure that I can do a weekly post for Creatacast and get it on YouTube, get it on Spreaker Studio, and get it out there to the different podcast channels. So that's my introduction for Creatacast for 2020. I'm looking forward to seeing what your responses are to the prompt. And the game plan is this: get interviews with authors, indie and conventional published route, poets, playwrights. I'm really going after more interviews this season, whether it's a phone interview or an in-person interview. I would love in-person interview, but if I end up just doing phone interviews for the entire season, then that's what happens. Now, as you know, seasons are unpredictable. I can be consistent with an episode a week for quite a while. Or, I might drop 2 episodes, 3 episodes in a month and then have to call it good because I've got other things going on. I start a new job here soon. I'm still going to be doing MMA photography and videography, but I do have another job lined up that I'm getting ready to dedicate full time to. So, with that in mind, still, like I said, I'm going to do everything I can to keep Creatacast going, keep the idea of a um, podcast that deals with creative writing and the creative mindset going. Now, I've been blessed with seeing other podcasts out there. The Sword and Pen, I think, is one of them. I was on a podcast recently that was a creative writing podcast that was fantastic. Um, and there are more coming. They're out there. It's great to see that. It's great to see people in the medium, people talking about it, especially, when you attach this, when you attach an episode to the Twitterverse and it gets a hold of, a slew of authors out there or writers or even journalists, they latch onto it because they love reading. They have a thirst for new content just like everybody else. So they latch onto podcasts quickly because back in their mind, I guarantee they dreamed of having their own radio show back in the day. And even to this day, I enjoy being on podcasts. I was on a political podcast recently. I was on Tim Truth's show for the Second Amendment rally. It was great being on that show. If you guys don't know who Tim Truth is, type in Tim Truth on YouTube. Check out his channel. He was live covering the rally for about 3 to 4 hours. I know it was a long run. It was probably even longer than that. I'm about 50 minutes into it. So if you go back and look at his live stream where he had guest speakers on, I was one of those guest speakers. So I have another podcast that I do. It's called David's Life and Observation, which I'm kicking off the 2020 season with soon as well. And just look forward to more videos, more content coming from me. If you like this channel, or if you like what I say, or you like the things that go on, please like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know if you like the direction the channel's going. And my channel is kind of a hodgepodge. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not just a straight show. It's definitely a lot of things going on at once, which I'm going to try and narrow down and regulate. And maybe even develop another channel for like a separate Creatacast channel just for Creatacast. But then again, I kind of like doing my shows together so people see two sides of the arena. The arena being, where the mind goes when he's not thinking about, he or she's not thinking about creative writing. And within creative writing, there's a lot of political discourse. There's a lot of political undertones to a lot of large creative works. So it's just a good mentality to keep in mind that people are versatile, and that's what I like my show being, is versatile. I like being able to talk politics on one hand and talk being creative on another, because one, they are two separate pieces of the entire pie, but they're also part of the same human being. So you can live in two worlds, multiple worlds actually. So I do have to give credit where credit's due. Within the creative genius landscape out there, there have been great books released. There have been great indie works put out there. I'm still getting my work out there, which is great. But this is the time, and I keep saying it, and I'll keep saying it again. This is the time to be a writer. This is the time to be an author of any sort. This is the time to be a creative person in general, because Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus, they are fighting. They are at war currently over content. They want to have quality content, quality actors and actresses. They want to have quality productions, and they have done it. If you've watched The Expanse on Amazon Prime, excellent show. I love it. Delves a little bit more into actual science, like, reversing the ship to slow down, using the thrusters to slow down. Now, you see that with, like, films like Ad Astra. I recommend. If you have not seen that film, it's amazing what they do with that film, and the way it's written, phenomenal. If you have not seen, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan, if you have not seen the most recent Star Wars, I recommend you do. A lot of people are like, oh, there's so many questions, but so what? Not every story ends how you want it to end. Not every story answers all the questions you want answered. Okay? The Mandalorian was very well written, very well done, very well cast. I mean, I loved The Mandalorian. Um, Jack Ryan's pretty good show on Amazon Prime. Anne with an E is really good. Netflix has Dracula. That is probably the best rendition of fucking Dracula I've seen in a long time. That shit was hardcore and funny. Like, there were moments that I was like, why? I'm laughing at this. I was laughing at moments, and a lot of them were like intense scenes too. So, today, tomorrow, whenever you can complete work, I would even say in the next 5 years, if you get good work done in the next 5 years, you are probably going places within the creative community, and that's just saying something for the times, because we are in a renaissance. We are in a creative renaissance for this time period, because never before has so many mediums been available. Because, I mean, how many authors in the past have written great stuff, quality stuff that would have made publication today? But back then, it was a little bit tighter knit community. It was a little harder to do. But today, a person who wrote a novel 30, 40 years ago could now say, you know what, hey, I can throw my novel out there as an independent work. Let's see where it goes. Next thing you know, you have 1,000 downloads of your ebook, and you're like, why couldn't this have happened to me back then? But herein lies the renaissance. Along with that, you do get a lot of crap work out there. People have published work that, quite frankly, I don't know if I don't know how editors are doing stuff these days, but there's some stuff that slips out there as far as work being completed and published through their medium, because the publishers, I get it, they're making money. Some of the publishers don't care as long as they have a book out there on the shelves, right? But you want your publication to mean something, right? You want them to say, damn, man, like, small little indie companies pulling out bangers, right? And it's possible to do. And there are indie companies that produce quality horror fiction, quality sci-fi fiction. We see good quality science fiction being produced all the time. There are sci-fi space operas there are these military space operas. Like, I'm reading Mather right now. What's his name? I'm trying to think of his full name. Matthew something Mather. I'm gonna pull it up, and I'm gonna remember here in a little bit. But man, like, it's a space opera, and I'm loving the books. It's like, man, like, you're knee deep into these worlds that they've created, these characters, these dynamic situations that they're in, and it's reminiscent of definitely some John Shirley. John Shirley puts you in these great scenarios that your characters are like, fuck, man, they're going through some intense stuff. So I like the fact that this is the time. This is definitely the time to be an author. If you're an author or a writer, and you've got so many mediums available to you. I mean, you can literally write, produce, direct, and publish your own documentaries, your own webisodes. So if you're someone who wants to write a play, there's nothing saying that you can't write the play and produce the play. We see it all the time with Murder in a Meal Company. These guys are great. They write their own work. They work on it together as a troupe, and they produce great comedy, great work for a night of enjoyment. Yeah, you're paying, $25, for the meal, and you're giving extra money afterwards because they put on such a well performed play, a well performed whodunit, and they're fantastic, and they have new content coming out. Last year was a really good whodunit, which was kind of a ritzy, clue type of thing. Now it's murder on the poop deck. So I'm eager to see that new one. So just keep in mind that this is a good time to be a writer, a good time to, if you are working real hard and you're a writer and you want to see something go to publication and you're not willing to wait in line, you can use KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, or you can use a smaller publisher, come out the money a little bit, and believe me, it's not going to be cheap. Their publishing packages for some of these publishers are, in the thousands of dollars, but that all depends on what you want them to do for your book, so I recommend that route. Like if you're already an established author and you don't want to go through the hubbub of dealing with an agent to see if they're, willing to, you know, um, see if the publisher or if your publisher already, wants something new, but they don't like the book that you produced, go with the indie route and then put it out there. I'm pretty sure, you know, your name alone will carry the day. Your name alone will carry the publication. So, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to grind for a while. I know authors that have been on the grind for years, still haven't been picked up by a major publication, but in the indie world, they're fucking killing it. So it all depends on what you can achieve and accomplish. So, time to be a writer. Please check out the Creatacast show for 2020. I'm going to try and produce these as much as possible. But the setting's going to change. Obviously, I've said that before, but I've been in transition a lot, so we'll make it happen.